So that was my experience, hospital experience. So when I come to the hospital chaplaincy here at North Shore, it was kind of I wouldn't say easy, but I was kind of really prepared for the role I was given. So going back to our task for today. So we have a big mission. So VCA work, volunteer chaplaincy assistant work, is a big mission. I should say it's a big mission, but it is a doable mission. So when we say mission, we can do it with the right preparation. So preparing you for this ministry is very important, and listening is the most, I should say, the most important part in VCA work. So it's very important that we know how to listen. Now, what we normally see is this: the human person situation and personality is the tip of an iceberg. That's the only thing. That's what we normally see. Am I right? But what we don't see is the big iceberg. Okay, so this is what we only see when we visit patients, but we see this part, not the whole of it. We see part of what's underneath through listening. That's why listening is a very important skill we need to learn in chaplaincy. And why is it hard to see the whole part of the person? Because we are a complex being. Okay, so we are a complex being, and we only see one part. Okay, so as chaplains, we look after the spiritual aspect of the person, and other carers look after the medical, the social, political needs of the patient. But what we do is the emotional, spiritual. So because we're a complex being, we have to be really careful in how we look after our patients. And that's why listening is very important, because it's the skill to lead us to knowing the person we are talking to. And also, what we see in the person is, when you first see the person, this is what we see. Is it beautiful or ugly?
Difficult to see.
It's difficult to see, and it's hard, and it's hard to decipher whether it's beautiful or not. And to me, it's not beautiful. But why? Because it's only a part of the big picture of what the person is. That's the whole picture of the person. Imagine that the person is that whole picture. But what we see is only part of the person, and that's when we see the beauty of that person. Some people only see the person who is unwell, but we don't know the past, the whole of the person. So in every situation, there are always people, places, history, culture, etc. in the background that we need to consider before we can hopefully understand the whole situation of that person. And we can never fully and completely understand its full picture. And we cannot see the full picture. And that's the sense of mystery for each human person. And I don't know if you're familiar with this Johari window. This will be in one of your notes. So this is the open self, blind self, hidden self, and mystery self. Now, what I want you to know, that there's a part of us that neither you, neither others know that part of you. And there's an open self where other people know about you and you know about yourself. But there's also a blind self where you don't know about yourself, but others know about you. And the hidden self, which other people don't know about you, but you know. But again, there's a mystery part of us. And it's good for us to know that listening is very important for us to know. We need to listen to others so we will know some of these blind spots about ourselves, and we need to listen to others so we will know the person we are talking to. So listening is very important for us to get the message. So a listener will always have barriers, okay, before he can get the message. So this is the speaker. Look at the speaker, and this is the message. But before the message can get through, there is a barrier. And we need to be aware of that when we listen. Okay? And that's why we need to have that skill in listening. And Saint Benedict said, listen with the ear of your heart. Sometimes we actually listen doesn't mean just listening the words, but with our feelings, we have to listen to that person. With our heart, with our emotion, we can listen to that person. Listening is not easy, but doable. So we shouldn't be scared about listening. And God gave us 2 ears to listen, which is also another important thing to know. Now, there are 7 listening or guidelines for listening, and we borrowed from Michael Jacobs' Swift to Hear. So tonight we'll look after, we'll go through all these 7 guidelines for listening. So first is listen with undivided attention without interrupting. So how often do we listen to the person and interrupt the person talking? I am a culprit. I'm guilty with that. I tend to listen more now that I'm a chaplain, but maybe well before chaplaincy, I tend to interrupt the person talking. But even sometimes now, if I really want to insist on my point, not to the patient but to other people, I interrupt. Why? Because that's our normal. But again, they said a respectful listener would not interrupt the person. But even professionals, I often have a hard time talking to even the most professional person would have that difficulty as well, listening without interrupting. But in chaplaincy, we really have to do this. Okay. So one of the greatest gifts you can give to someone is your undivided attention. Now, how can we listen without interrupting? It is very important to be aware of the noises. First is the external noise. External noise is very, very easy to identify because you can hear it. But the most difficult noise to quiet down is the internal noise. Right now, as I speak, I have internal noise, and right now, as you are listening to me, there are internal noise going on in your mind, and you need to be aware of those when we are talking to patients. So what are these internal noise? So you may have read that already in your notes. Okay. Mental processes faster than speech. So listen to more than the obvious. Okay. To drift to our own thoughts, our own worries about other matters, anxiety about helping with this particular issue. So if there's a particular issue you are anxious about, that can also make some noise internally. Concern over what am I to say next. Some VCAs were asking me, I can't listen because I'm thinking of what to say next. Okay, instead of just being there, this is another difficulty a person we may have. So memory triggered by speaker's remarks. So the speaker said something, and that triggers a memory, and that can interrupt your conversation with the patient. A speaker talking in a monotone. So if the speaker is speaking in monotone, like maybe myself, that may hinder you from listening. Oh, Oliver, have a monotonic voice, and that can interrupt your listening, or to the patient having monotonic voice. So listener stereotypes the speaker, assumes what the speaker is saying. So this is some people say, this speaker always says this, or this speaker is just like my mother, or this speaker is just like my brother. And with that thinking, you can no longer listen because you are thinking now of your mother or your brother, or that stereotype of that speaker you are associating with. And listener may not want to experience feelings, emotions being expressed due to own inner anxieties, fears, and beliefs. So, so self-development and self-acceptance is required for this. So some people may not want to experience that particular emotion being what I call this, being conveyed in your speaker's messages. Okay. So and be, why are some listeners unwilling to experience that? Because they have their own inner anxiety about that. So for example, the speaker was talking about something you are afraid about. For example, the speaker was talking about relationship with mother-in-law, relationship with friends, and that triggers you, and you don't want to go into that situation because you have a problem with your friend. So because you don't want to go into that, you are anxious or you are fearful, or the speaker is talking about a faith that you are not really agreeing, or you don't want to believe. Again, that will interrupt you because you don't want, and I don't want to, I'm not interested in your faith, so I don't want to listen. So for you to overcome that is to have, of course, self-development, which is what we are doing now in this lesson, and self-acceptance is required. So having been self-developed and accepted that issue you have in your life will help you listen more. So some people cannot listen well because of their own personal problems, challenges, or issues. Now, listener may assume what is being said is insignificant. This is very also important to note that if we assume that what the person is saying is insignificant, then of course you are not likely to listen to that person. So always in chaplaincy, we always have to make sure that we consider that what the patient is telling me is important. Or in listening in general, what will help us understand or listen more is remembering that each person's message is important. Okay, so I'd like you to, how many are we? You are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you'll be in going to your, I'll put you into breakout rooms, and then you'll identify yourself as person A and B, and each pair will have 5 minutes. Okay, so what you're going to talk about is about last week or last holiday. Talk about it in as much detail as possible. After person A speaks, then B speaks to A for 5 minutes as well. So again, you just have to tell your partner what happened last week or last holiday with, with much details. Again, if you're the listener, when it's your turn to listen, you're not to say anything to the speaker other than using minimal encouragers, which you will find in Guide 11 in responding, such as yes, or nod, or nodding of head or smile. So after A and B has spoken, discuss in pairs what it felt like to speak without interruption, to listen with only minimal responses, or what caused the listener to lose track. I think we will do this one after you have to. So I'll give you maybe 12 minutes, so 5 minutes each, and then switch after each 5 minutes, and then do the I'll put you back into the group. So breakout rooms. So how many? 4. I think I have to assign manually. Just one moment. So for 1, Okay, so I'll now put you into rooms, and remember, you are to say those. You have to tell your classmate, your partner. You have to speak 5 minutes and listen 5 minutes, and switch roles. Okay, are you ready? Okay.
Yep.
You will soon takes a bit of time, so just wait. Make sure you join, okay? You join, Pastor Choi and Song, you join, click join so you can go to with Mickey. Pastor Choi, kindly join group 1. Join, click join.
미키 어디 갔대? 미키.
Yeah. Join Mickey. Go to
Join,
Mickey.
join
Click
Mickey.
join. Yeah, yeah.
아,
참가자 둘인데 지금 둘이거든. 미키가 입장해야 되는데 엔터. 미키 엔터.
Yeah, enter.
미키
Go to room 1.
왜 안 들어오지?
미키 콜.
미키 콜.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'll just.
그 내용에 대해서 저기-
지난주에 한 것을 5분 동안 서로 이야기해라 이게 소회의실에서.
퇴장하셨나?
나가버렸나? 아니, 참가자가 2사람 있는데.
지난주에
지난주에 이야기했던 거. 근데 지금 2사람뿐이 없다고 이게.
그 초대합니다.
올리브하고 우리하고 그분이 없어. 이게 얘가
지금 우리 발표하라고 그러는 것 같아.
아니 근데
어디 다른 방으로 갔어? 참가자 완밖에 없네.
이게 우리 둘뿐이 없다고 지금 우리 혼자만 지금 있는 거야.
여기 운소가 좀 해서. 말씀 좀 해주세요.
예. 아마
지난주에
예.
지난주에 한 것에 대해서 이야기를 좀 하라고 하시잖아요. 한
예.
5분 동안 이야기를 하는데
예.
지난주에
레슨 2. 사역에 대해서.
그
아니요, 목사님이 지난주에 뭘 하셨던 간에 5분만 이야기하시면 돼요. 지난주에 일어났던 일, 뭐 이야기하고 싶은 거. 공부가 아니라.
공부가 아니에요.
예,
공부가 아니에요?
아니고
아닌 거에.
이런 일이 있었다 해도 5분 동안 이야기하셔야 돼요.
예. 제가 지난주에 저희 딸이 그 PM 그 일로 해서 독일을 지금 갔다가 지금 돌아오는 중이에요. 그래가지고 이제 혼자 가다 보니까 거기 자녀들이 두 자녀들이 학교를 가기 때문에 같이 가지를 못 오고, 그래서 이제 그걸 저희 집에 그 손자녀를 불러다가
네.
지금 일주일 동안, 이게 오늘까지 이제 8일 동안 어쨌든 뭐 지금 계속해서 저희들이 그 이제 학교 뭐 이렇게 보내고 또 밥 해주고 또 학원 보내고 또 뭐 어디 뭐 특별 활동 뭐 예를 들어서 뭐 저기 그 뭐 장구 치고 오는 데가 어디죠? 거기 남십자성인가?
남십자성에
거기 그 춤배우로 딸이 큰 손녀가 이제 다니고 그래서
그랜드 도는 그러고
이제 거기 가는 거 이제 픽업하고 뭐 하여튼 뭐 그러느라고 지금 이번 한 주 눈꽃 둘 새 없이 보내고.
손자는 또 축구하고 학원 다니고 바빴어요. 픽업 관계도 그러고 또
이제 그렇게 하고 오늘 3과를 한다고 그래서 3과 그 교재 주신 교재를 전부 다 번역을 다 한국말로 다 번역을 해서 제 나름대로 지금 무슨 말씀을 하고 계시는지를 이해하려고 노력을 했습니다.
예.
이들을 좀 했고요. 또 이제 개인적으로는 이제 우리 그 손자가 지금 그 한국에 있는데 이제 병원에 그 이제 의외과 지금 다니고 있어가지고 그래서 지금 방학을 했어요. 방학을 해가지고 겨울 방학을 해가지고 방학을 했는데 마침 그 이제 주위 사람들이 그 우리 손자를 예쁘게 봐줘가지고 서로 그 아르바이트 방학 기간 동안에 용돈 좀 벌어서 다음 학기에 좀 쓸 수 있는 돈을 좀 벌게 해줄 테니까 막 서로 오라고 그래가지고 좀 즐거운 비명을 지금 지르고 있습니다 지금.
우리 여기 한세는 4대 4로 그 상대편하고 축구를 했는데 마지막에 한세가 한 골 넣어갖고 이겼어요. 5대 4로. 그런 얘기 해주면 좀 괜찮겠죠? 어제. 예. 그래서 너무 막 기분이 좋아하더라고. 어제 토요일 날 그랬구나.
그렇게 하고 이제 어제 저희들 이제 예배는 잘 드렸고요. 예배를 이제 저희들 뭐 잘 드렸고 이제 다음 주에 우리 이제 여기 지금 손녀 딸이 여기 있는데 이제 다음 주 주일날 뭐 비행기표가 그렇다니까 뭐 주일날 아침 일찍이 이제 뭐 대한항공으로 간다고 그래서 이제 그 마무리해서 이제 좀 이것저것 준비해서 보낼 거 보내고 또 짐 싸는 것 좀 도와주고 그러니라고 올 한 주도 좀 바쁘게 생겼네요.
아니 또 우리 미키 집사님 또 통역하려면 애쓰시겠다.
대충 하시죠. 뭐.
5분 동안 이야기하는 건데 5분 지났어요? 5분 됐어요?
모르겠네요.
예.
뭐 이 정도면 충분하겠지 않아요?
아마 그 목사님께서
예.
5분 됐으니까 이거를 바꿔라, 역할을 바꿔라 이런 이야기가 있으실 거예요.
예. 이렇게 하고 또 뭔 이야기를 해야 되나?
뭐 저기 하면 되지 않아요? 그래도 뭐 우리 딸 얘기하고 그 손자 손녀 얘기하고 또 우리 지금 이제 얘 한국 들어가는 거 또 한국에 있는 손자 또 얘기하고 또 뭐 특별한 거 있나?
저 한국에 있는 막내 그 꼬마 손자 하나 있는 애는 지금 요새 테니스 배운이라고
네.
테니스를 배우는데
예.
저 유튜브 좀
동영상이.
동영상을 하나 보내왔는데 그런 대로 그냥 잘 치더라고요. 그래서 이 소질이 좀 있는 것 같다 지금 그렇게 생각을 하고 있어요. 좀 더 지켜봐야죠.
내가 몇 살이에요?
지금 2002년 월드컵 그 의대에는 2002년도 이게 한국에서 그 월드컵 할 때 났던 애예요.
큰애는
막내는
거기보다
막내는 이제 2011년이고 2011년.
그러니까 10년 차이인가? 10년 차이.
11년 차이.
11년.
11년 차이.
편하고.
늦둥이 난 거.
그거 이제 지금 나오셨는데
It's a 5 minute. We need to change the role.
Yeah, 5 minutes
Yeah.
each person. Yeah.
Yeah, it means what I mean. The Mr. Choi and 5 minute and Mrs. Song 5 minute, like that. Okay.
Just listening.
Yeah, and
So
then
one is talking, one is listening.
yes,
Then after that, switch talking, listening.
yes. Okay. Take it. Mr. Choi
저도
already spoke 5 minutes, and then it's maybe Mrs. Song's turn.
Yeah.
저도 미투
예. 그러니까 5분 이야기하시고 상대편은 들으시고. 예.
예 여기
사모님 먼저 하세요.
예 저도 뭐 거의 공통적으로 생활하기 때문에 뭐 그잖아요.
예.
뭐 특별한 거는 없고 이제 제가 지난주에 김치를 담았잖아요. 김치 좀 담고 또 뭐 애들 한국은 도시락을 안 싸잖아요. 근데 도시락 싸는 게 보통이 아니더라고. 손녀
제 것까지 4개가 되니까.
목사님 것도
지금 저는 학생이 아니니까
예.
목사님과 사모님 사이를 하셔야 돼요.
그래요?
하는 동안 사모님은 들으시고 사모님 이야기하시는 동안 목사님 들으시는데
예.
짧은 반응을 보이시는 거예요.
예. 그 이야기에 뭐 어떻게
끄떡끄떡해.
내가 끄떡끄떡 해줄게. 이야기를 하라고. 아까는 했으니까.
제가 매일 하모니카 한 곡씩 부르거든요. 그래서 너무 좋고요. 또 뭐가 있나? 요즘에 또 파도 좀 심고 가드니 그런 거 정도. 그래요.
밤에 달팽이 주는다는 이야기도 해야지.
밤에 달팽이 죽는 얘기. 그런 거는 좀 그렇지.
아니요, 지금 제일 중요한 게 뭐냐면은 듣는 실력을 이야기를 하는 거예요. 들으시면서 지금 목사님 같은 경우는 이제
반응을
한테 이야기하는 대상을 하니까 그런데 강자라고 이야기를 하면
예.
이제 이제 반응하고
그리고 이제 응답을
하는 거를 보여주는 거예요. 그러니까 이야기를 하세요, 사모님.
예.
이야기해. 그냥 성경 읽었던 이야기도 하고 그냥 막 해 그냥.
우리가 또 올해 들어서 우리 성경 말씀 또 한 3독 했잖아요.
예.
3독. 성경 읽기 3독 마쳤거든요. 그래서 지금 창세기 어제부터 1장씩 사독 시작을 했어요.
그렇죠. 하여튼 뭐 그동안 하나님의 은혜로
네.
당신이
그래서 또 매일 감사하고 건강하니까.
그러니까
Okay, we'll now end the session, so I'll be putting them back. All right.
야,
그러면
이야기를 하려는 거고.
그러니까 이거는 끝났는데 지금 두 분은 저한테 이야기하는 거라서 그러시는데 목사님은 다음에 한자한테 가면은 제가 계속 고개 끄덕거리면서 이해한다, 네 이야기 잘 듣고 있다 이 표시하는 것처럼 그렇게 하셔야 돼요. Olive, is the time's up?
Yep. So
Okay,
they'll be coming back soon.
okay. Yeah.
Okay, they'll be back soon. Okay, is everybody here? Okay, we're waiting for 3 more people, or yeah. Okay, so while waiting for them, so I'd like to ask, I'd like you to tell us what it felt like speaking without being interrupted.
Right.
That's the first question. What does it feel like being? What does it feel like speaking
here I
without the person interrupting you? Can you who'd like to share?
Yeah.
Oh, go for it, Rufus.
Yeah, you go. You go.
Oh, okay, you go.
Yeah, well, when we listen to a person without interrupting them, we can get the whole story, whole scenario, so that it gives a better understanding of that person from beginning to the end, if we don't interrupt them. Yeah, the whole story is being conveyed. So I like that.
Okay, thank you, Rufus. Who else?
I think you, as a person, feel honored because you know that person and you feel respected, I think, because that person's taking the time to really listen to you and, you know, not interrupt you or, you know, try and come in on top of what it is that you're saying. So yeah, I think it's a sign of respect and yeah, it's good.
Thank you, Stacy. That's right. Feeling respected, feeling honored, because someone is listening to you. Listen, really listening. Okay, so Rufus said, you get the whole story, and Stacy said being listened to feels being honored and respected. Who else?
I think it's very interesting hearing people's stories and feelings and what they love to do. That's what I felt, that it was a privilege to hear.
Thank you.
And I think when you listen intently, that you know, Stacey saying about encouraging and feeling validated and valued, that's really, really important. And I think as the speaker, as the listener, if you really tune into being attentive, you become less and less judgmental, I think when you're when you're talking to people who interrupt you, you feel as though that they're making a judgment, because then they're expressing an opinion and coming out about maybe what you've said. So it's often disrespectful, isn't it? If it's not encouraging. I mean, if it's encouraging to what the person and validating what the person's saying, but if you interrupt and find that it's kind of against what is the speaker, and not having the patience to just bite their tongue and listen, turn their ears on.
Thanks for that, Martin. Yeah, it's true. When you are listening to someone intently or intentionally, there is that you don't appear as judgmental anymore, and you are able to listen more, and you're able to understand more the person, and you become more interested in that person. For the speaker part, the person will feel validated, as Martin said. The person will feel that the listener is not being judgmental. Why? Because you're not saying anything.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for that, Martin. Who else would like to say something? Okay, and what caused the listener also? Did you lose track as a listener of the person's story or sharing? Did you lose track along the way?
No.
Did you experience any internal noise?
No.
No. So there may have been, but it is lesser, very minimal. And if you may lose track, it is because of internal noise. And yeah, and that's again, you're likely not to lose track if you are listening without interrupting. So we've covered what the listener feels and what the speaker feels when we listen without interrupting. Do you have questions? Okay, we'll proceed. Next is, remember what has been said, including the details. The more you listen, the less you say, and there's also the less you say, there will be better recall. And better recall is very important, because in listening, as we learn responding, you will learn that we need to recall, and the person will feel validated if you are able to recall accurately. So again, guidance for listening. Second is not just to listen without interrupting, but to remember what has been said, including the details. And the more you listen, the less you say, which means there will be better recall. You can remember better. Okay. Now, memory can be improved with constant practice. So some people say it's hard to remember, but yeah, it's through constant practice that you can improve that. And next, obvious and storyline, pegs or skeleton to hang the details on. So if you could think of like pegs or skeleton where you can put these details, like, he said something about this, I'll put it here. So you kind of in your mind, you do a mental framework or skeleton of what the person is saying. So some people are able to think of that. So he said about this, about his family. Now he said about his daughter, and then he said something about his past. So you kind of assign or put some markers where you can put those details. Okay, and then empathic listening, experiencing the feeling, emotion, and aids memory. So if you do empathic listening, that's when you really feel what the person is talking. That will also aid your memory. So again, there are 3 things now. And yes, Martin.
Oh, sorry to interrupt, Oliver, but I remember reading once, and it taught me a lot in my line of work, that if you to be, to be a really, really good listener, that accompanying that is when you're talking to someone is to ask really, really good questions. So if you ask questions, but then you listen, and like you're saying about recall, and I remember reading, there was an experiment of a person doing a thesis at university, sat next to someone on an airplane from New York to Los Angeles, and he got involved in a conversation virtually the whole trip. And when the plane arrived in LA, the students doing the thesis went up to, it was a doctor apparently, went up to the doctor and asked him, oh, that gentleman sitting next to you, what did you think of him? And he said, he's the most interesting person I've ever met. And all he did was ask questions, and he told nothing about himself. But he made the speaker feel very, very validated, I guess. And yeah, it's asking good questions, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
that's very true. Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Martin. That's very important. Asking questions is very important. That's part of responding, and it also, in listening, it also helps better recall, because you ask the question. That means you're involved in the conversation. You are listening really intently. And next is little things, innocuous remarks, subtle emphasis, but for, and Freudian slip. We can also kind of look at these things. These are little things, but we can think about. We can also include that in our listening, and that will help us recall the conversation, or the message of the speaker. Yes, Hong?
Yes, Oliver, are you sharing screen? Because I cannot see that.
Sorry?
Are you sharing screen with us, or?
Yeah, I was. Just
no,
one moment.
I can only see all the faces.
Oh, so
that's
sorry about
okay.
that.
Yeah, I thought you may need to press this.
Thanks for that,
Yeah.
Hong.
No problem. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Thank you, Hong.
Please continue.
Okay. So yeah, thanks for that. And then, so yeah, little things it can help you remember. So I remember he said something about this. It was just little minor thing, minor detail, or some jokes that are not really hurtful, or some subtle emphasis on something. Then that will help you remember. I remember him saying about this and that. That will help you recall the person. So I think you already know what Freudian slip is. It's when like an example is, I call you with a like, for example, someone calls me Michael, and now if the patient calls me Michael, it kind of reminds me that, oh, I remember this patient. He told me. I remember what you said when you called me Michael. I remember that. So when you call me Michael, because it's a Freudian slip, because that person may have been thinking of his or her son or husband or friend. So, and he's not saying that he's remembering that, but that's a Freudian slip. That's an example of Freudian slip. Okay. So next we'll go into another recalling activity. So I'll get you to your breakout rooms again, and then follow what's being asked of your role. So if you're person A, act as a speaker, and person B as listener. And now you can either talk about something else, or you can just recall what has been said during your first activity. Is that all right? So again, recall as accurately as possible all that's been said by A, and then next will be the other person also talking, recalling. Okay. So Hong was with, I'll go back. We'll put you to your rooms again. I still have your room here. Okay. So I'll give you 6 minutes. Is that all right? Can start now. Do you have questions before you go? Just recalling to the person what the person said. Okay.
Give it to mom. It's too sweet. I don't like it.
How was it, Rufus?
It was good, Oliver. We just recall our, that what we've discussed, what we listened to before.
Was it easy or?
I was telling.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
it was good.
I was telling Rufus that I didn't take any notes, and so I was trying my best to recall what he said.
And how was it? Were you able to make it?
Yeah, apparently. What do you reckon, Rufus? Was it all right?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah.
Yeah.
She summarized the whole thing.
Yeah.
He tells a good story.
Hello, baby. Yeah. So how was it? So how accurate was each person's memory?
Mine was pretty good, but I wrote a few things down. And Hong's was pretty amazing. He told me about myself. Thank you.
Yeah.
And
메모리야.
yeah, was the person recalling the message omitting something? Were there points or messages that were omitted? Or everything was recalled, was remembered?
Doesn't need to be there, sorry.
I think Martin, he's a really good listener. Yeah. And because he has a good insight of the story, because I only give a very simple story, describe my language probably simple. But actually he has a very deep insight, to see the very, the people's emotion and the feelings and the story, the kind of the story. So he has a nice insight of that. So that's good. I think that's a very good skill, listening skill. We can learn.
Okay. Well, thanks, Maggie, and well done, Martin. So you see
Oh.
the what the person feels. Now, yeah. So Maggie just mentioned how she felt. Well, she felt great that Martin is listening well. How about for the others? What did you feel when your message or your story was played back to you? What did you feel?
I felt that Maggie had amazing recall. What I talked about was quite descriptive, but she remembered a heck of a lot. And I don't think she wrote any of it down. So I was thinking of writing down what Maggie was going to say, but she was describing about how she felt with an overseas pastor came to visit, and she helped accommodate his whole visit. And she, we all know when we're up to a challenge, but we know when God works in us too, that he gives us that strength. And Maggie described it very well about how she felt throughout that whole process. So that was really good.
Thanks, Martin. Yeah. How about the others? One last person to let us know what it feels like being told of your story. You told your story, and then the person replayed what you have told him or her. So what does it feel? Any feeling? Okay. Now just sharing some of the patients' reaction when you tell them that you remember what they said yesterday or the last time you visited. They feel important. They feel that they are important to you. They feel that they feel appreciated or valued as a person because you remember their story. And I would feel the same if I would have someone telling me and remembering my story. That feels being so. And again, remembering is not easy, but as you were listening without interrupting, it was a little easier. And Stacy said she didn't make notes, but she was able to make it. Okay, Rufus said, yeah, she made it.
Yeah.
And yeah, Martin also said Maggie didn't take notes, but she was able to recall those details. So that's really, while it is challenging to recall, also the activity proves to us that the more you listen without interruption, the more there's a better recall. Okay, and let's move on to number 3. So listen to the baseline. What is not openly said, but possibly is being felt. So you know, in music, baseline is there are 4 in one, like in a song, in a choir. There are 4 notes to give a good harmony of a choir a choir singing. So there are 4 lines. Now the bass line is hardly, we cannot hear the bass of a choir singing. It's hard to hear the bass. What we hear is the melody, but the bass is hardly heard. Why? Because it's not very loud. It's just subtle. It's just kind of gentle. But again, in listening, we need to take note of the bass line. Now, because I am a bass in choir, I'm normally assigned to bass because of my a little deep voice. So I know the bass line of the song. But if you are not in a choir, you wouldn't know. So in listening, you're like a member of a choir. You listen very carefully that you can hear the bass line of the message of the person. So there, in this picture, it shows that there are different. You only see one that's very prominent, but the other messages of the person in front of you are not heard, are not seen. Okay, so we need to get the baseline. So bringing the underlying. So when a person speaks about emotional matters, there's a main melody, but there's also the baseline or harmony. So the main melody is obviously stated, feeling, emotion, experience, but the baseline or harmony is the underlying feeling or emotion that we are not normally hearing from the person. So to hear that, you need a skill in listening. So bringing the underlying feeling or emotion into the open can help the person move or resolve the issue presented. Now, why are we really needing to know the baseline? Because this is normally the hidden part of the story, which we need to open. Because when we're able to hear it or open it, the person is now able to resolve that issue. Because normally when we tell someone, we don't tell the whole story. We hide something. Or we're just not skilled enough to tell the whole story, the whole point. But there's an issue that's hiding in our stories. So once the listener is able to find out the baseline of that story, of that message, or that issue or problem, now it can help the person move on or resolve the issue presented. Like, for example, we have a patient who always says, for over an hour, she keeps telling me that her husband doesn't care about her. When I go home, she doesn't even care that I'm sick. After her hospitalization, she wouldn't even care. She just doesn't care that I'm sick. Keeps repeating details about the husband not letting us know not caring her. But what is the underlying message of that?
She's lacking just that she feels unloved because for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't give her time or what she
So-
needs.
Yeah, that's right. So Patsy was able to find out the baseline. She feels unloved. She keeps telling you the details of how she's not being looked after when she goes home, but her message is, I don't feel loved. Oliver, I don't feel loved. And if you're able to point it out, the person will be able to move on, resolve the issue being presented. But again, with this person, even if I was able to tell her, oh, you don't feel loved, the person doesn't love you. You don't feel that the person is loving you. Even if I tell her that, she wouldn't listen because there's an issue that she can't move on. So again, it also depends on the person. But in most cases, when we're able to tell them the very baseline, they can move on. So well, let us say, for example, that person is not really holding on to that emotion. After you tell him you don't feel loved, the person will say, thank you, Oliver, for listening. And then the conversation will end. In most cases, when you are able to point out the pain points of the person, which is the baseline normally, the person will normally say, thank you for listening. Now they're able to resolve the issue being presented by themselves. Okay? And this also tells you that in listening to a person, we don't need to actually solve their problem because they themselves can solve it by one is being aware of the baseline of their story. Now, we'll have some activities here.
Oops.
So we'll start with this one. So as a whole group, so this one is identify the presence and nature of baseline components. So without emotions stated, is number one, is letter A. Identify the underlying feelings and emotions using the following. So we'll start with the first one. Mabel is a middle-aged woman who lives, by the way, I'd like a volunteer, someone to act as Mabel and a volunteer to act as Mark.
Well, I'll be the middle-aged woman.
Okay, you'll be Mabel. Who's Martin? Ah, Mark. Oh, Freudian slip. Martin, I want you to do it. Okay.
I'll
So-
go on. I'll be Mark then.
Okay. So
I'm
middle-aged
middle-aged.
woman who lives on a who lives on a farm run by her son-in-law Mark. So I'm not. It's not Mark, by the way. It is the first anniversary of her husband's death, and she has fallen out with her son-in-law. She meets a friend of her husband's while shopping in town. So it's not Mark, but friend. I'm sorry. So the name is Fred. So you'll be Fred Martin. Okay. You can start, Patsy, as Mabel.
Okay. Hello, Fred.
Oh, hi, Mabel. How's life treating you?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm keeping on the go, you know. So I was thinking this morning, it's been a year since Clive died. How time flies.
Life's not the same, you know.
I still remember that ball he bought. We didn't can't see the,
Have fun with that.
move my, we didn't have fun with it.
It just broke his heart. What a waste of money. How's Moira?
Blooming. She's really enjoying life.
Wish I could do the same.
Don't worry, you're okay with Mark running the farm.
Well, it's all very well, but he's spending too much money on the farm. I don't know where it's going to end.
You got to spend money these days. Look, I must go. Come around and see you sometime.
When I get a moment, I will.
Okay, thank you. So now it's entitled Cries for Help. So there are actually cries for help there, if you notice. So I'd like you to find out what are the unspoken feelings in the conversation.
Um,
I'd like you to focus on Mabel. What is Mabel telling us,
yes.
but what she's not telling us verbally or explicitly?
Well, she's still sad at the loss of her husband, and she's worried that Mark is spending too much money in the farm, and she's not terribly happy, is Mabel.
Okay. Martin said she's not happy, and she's not saying it, did she? She said, pretty good. How about you?
That's just the surface stuff, isn't it, really?
Okay, what else? What else did you find out as unspoken feelings in this conversation?
You
I don't
there's
think
like a bit of
Fred's
grief there?
helping.
Sorry?
I don't think Fred's helping Oliver. He's glossing over. He's not really asking Mabel. He's asking Mabel how she feels, and then he's glossing over it, and he's asking her about something else. He's not really listening to what Mabel's saying. Well, what she's feeling underneath.
Yeah,
and he
that's
could
right.
do that. Yeah.
Yes, Stacy, you want to say something?
It just sounds like she's dealing with like a bit of grief, and as Martin's rightly said, he just kind of glosses over it. He asks how she's doing, and she tries to sort of allude to how she's feeling, but she's not really being heard.
So
and then
now sorry.
sorry, I was just gonna say it's quite telling in her last line where she says, when I get a moment I will. It doesn't really go into any more detail, but yeah.
I think a key sorry, I think a key sentence there from Mabel is it just broke his heart, and what a waste of money. I think she feels as we've said, very sad, but also powerless.
Yes.
Yeah. So feeling of powerlessness is what she's feeling right now as well.
It's almost like Fred's very upbeat and Mabel's not, and Fred should lower his enthusiasm and be more empathetic and be more and listen more to Mabel, because there are different emotional levels. He's trying to be upbeat. He thinks he's cheering her up, but he's not.
And it's common, right? For people out there, they want people to they want to cheer us up when we are not happy, and we're not on the same level. It's like we are sad, and they're so upbeat. And why? Because that's not properly. When we listen, we try to kind of go with their level.
Yes.
So you can see the feelings of Fred. Fred is not saying it, but you can see Fred's feeling. He's upbeat, and Mabel, you can see that she's feeling low.
I think Fred had an opportunity at the end there to dig a bit deeper, but he basically, when she said, I don't know where it's going to end, that's when he could have, drawn her out, but he just said, look, gotta go. He didn't want, I don't think he wanted to.
No, that's right.
To get any deeper, it was too hard. So she wasn't listened to.
She wasn't listened to, that's right. So she feels not listened to as well, aside from her feeling of grief, aside from feeling of sadness. She feels not listened to. She feels powerless. And now when she said, I don't know where it's gonna go, what does it mean? I don't know where it's going to end. What is it? What is that feeling?
Yeah.
Desperate.
Desperate or helpless or worried.
Worried, concerned,
Concerned. Oh, I don't know where this is going to end. The money is being spent. So all these feelings are not being said, and you can also see Fred's. What I can see in Fred is he's afraid to dive into the emotion of Mabel.
Yes.
There's fear in Fred as well. Okay, she's trying to be upbeat, but there's fear of not going to that feeling.
Doesn't want to go deep.
That's right. So some people don't want to go deeper with you. I often see people like that, and why? Because maybe they're not ready, or they're not good listeners. So in this role, we are required to kind of have to play that, not to play, but to really have that role of a listener who's willing to dive into the emotion of the person, being empathetic. Okay, so empathic listening is important. So now we can see that there are feelings unsaid, which we can actually see in people's lines. So the baselines. Next is distinguishing between content of the statement, the alleged facts. So we see facts, alleged facts, but they're actually actual feelings involved. So we'll look at these statements and we'll see the content, which is what we see, then feelings. A statement made by a hospital patient. And the patient said, "I've been trying to get someone for hours. What a lousy place. I could have died. No one seems to bother with me." What's the content?
She was not, she didn't receive the care that she has to.
No, we'll start with the content first, Rufus. It said here that he waited for
Hours.
hours. So long wait. What else? She feels that the place is lousy.
Place is lousy, yeah.
Yeah. What else?
No one seems to care.
And no one seems to care. So that's the content. But what's the real feeling?
She could have died.
What is she really telling us? What does she feel?
She wants to die.
She's angry.
Angry.
Yeah, she's angry and a bit worried.
Worried. What
Upset.
else? Upset. Very good.
Yep.
What else?
Anxious.
Anxious.
She doesn't matter.
Not feel valued. She doesn't matter.
Unhappiness.
Unhappy with the situation.
Yeah.
Rejected.
Rejected. Okay.
Sad.
Sorry.
Sad.
Could be sad. Okay. But the dominant feeling I see there is not valued, or and as you said, feeling unimportant, and she's also angry already. She's not saying it. What a lousy place, but a lousy place. But really, she's angry. She's angry because she doesn't feel valued. So again, the content is different from the feelings. Some people will just say the content, but going down deeper, you will see that she's conveying deeper feelings. And as chaplains, you'll be able to see those feelings as you progress in your role. Next statement is made by a young woman whose partner just died in a hospital following a suicide attempt. "I should have come home earlier. This would not have happened if I had been there. I've never been any good for him. I've never been any good for him." So what's the content?
Frustration.
Frustration, yes.
So that's the feeling already. What's the content?
The death of her partner.
Death of a partner. What else?
Guilt.
So that's the feeling already. What's the content?
Oh, sorry. Yep.
So she was late, right?
You should have come home.
Yeah, come
early.
home.
What else? So something happened.
Yeah.
Okay. And of course, she said
She wanted to be.
she's
wanted to be
not been
there.
any good for him.
Yeah.
She's never been any good for him.
Worthlessness. Yeah.
Okay. Now, what are the feelings? So Martin just mentioned
Guilt.
guilt. What are the feelings you find in here?
Low self-esteem.
Low self-esteem. What else?
Regret.
Regret.
Regret. Yeah.
What else?
Grief.
Grief. There's grief as well.
Inability.
Yeah.
What else?
She's blaming herself. She's
Blaming.
Yeah.
Self-blame.
Yeah. Inability.
Yep. Feeling inability.
Unable to be there. Yeah, I'm trying.
Unable to help. Feeling helpless or unhelpful.
Someone said regret already.
Yep. Someone said that. Hey, Stacy. So regret or Maggie. Sorry.
Should have been there. I should have been there.
Yeah, I should have been there. So this regret. Now she's not saying it, but we can see that as we dig deeper. And now we'll go to feelings or feeling beneath words. Tune into the following statements and see if you can pick the feeling that lies buried beneath the words. Number 1, my job is all right at the moment, but things keep changing. I don't think it will be long. However, it will be long, however, before I will be replaced by a machine. What is the person feeling?
Worried, eh?
Worried. What else? That's right.
Fear of losing his job.
Fear of losing the job. What else?
Lack of confidence.
Lack of confidence.
Mm.
Yeah.
What else?
Inadequate.
Feeling
Yeah,
inadequate.
like a worthlessness, inadequacy. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on to number 2. I think my son is on drugs. I can't be sure, but he has all the signs of a drug addict. What is he or she feeling?
Worried.
Worried?
Concerned, yeah.
Concerned? What else?
Worried.
Not sure what to do.
Yeah.
Not sure what to do. Sorry, it's Hazy.
Oh no, I was agreeing with Martin.
Okay.
Might be searching for some sort of some help there, you know, potentially.
So if you notice, he just said, I think my son is on drugs. I can't be sure, but he has all the signs of a drug addict. He's not saying that, mentioning the feeling, but you can see the worry. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fear as well, fear of losing a wholesome son. Next, the date for the wedding has been set, but the closer it gets, the more I feel like postponing it. What's the feeling?
Fear. Fear.
Fear.
Anxious.
There's fear. Okay, what else?
Distrusting her love or his love for her fiance.
Yeah.
Questioning, self-doubt.
Self-doubt. What else? When you want to postpone something, you're not sure about it. You right? I doubt whether is it a good decision, and you're anxious.
Yeah.
Like before I came to New Zealand, I was very happy in my application to go to New Zealand, but when the day came that I will be, or before the week before I come to New Zealand, like, oh, should I go there? Should I not? Or I think I don't want to go now. So, but on the day itself, said, oh, I have to go. Why? Because maybe you are not sure, or maybe you are feeling you're not sure. I know some people will feel anxious, or the grief of losing your own. For example, the grief of losing your being single.
Yeah.
The joy of being being free. I'm sorry.
Indecisive.
Being free.
Well, yeah, indecisive, as Martin said, but also doubt. You're doubtful. You're doubting yourself and your fiance.
Okay, uncertainty as well. Could be uncertainty. I don't know. Fear is a product of uncertainty. I don't know what's gonna happen there. Okay. What's gonna happen after wedding? So yeah, there's that. I talked to number 4. I talked to my pastor about the problem, and he said he would arrange to see me to discuss it. That was a month ago, and he hasn't come back to me with a date yet. Person is feeling what?
Rejection.
Rejected. Yeah.
Frustrated.
Frustrated.
Disappointed.
Disappointed.
Angry.
Angry. Angry. Feeling not valued. Number 5, I lost my temper again today, and although I have made a commitment not to do this, it keeps happening. I'm a pretty hopeless Christian. What's the feeling?
Hopelessness.
Hopelessness, yeah.
Hopelessness.
Frustration.
Frustration. Okay.
Dislike of self.
Yeah. Feeling I don't like myself. Yeah. So again,
Self-hatred.
yeah, that's right. Now, with an emotion stated, merciful release, what's merciful release? Merciful release is when, well, it's a merciful release for you. So for example, you lost your job, you hate. It's a merciful release for you, isn't it? Okay. Now, what happens in merciful release? What do people really do in merciful release? Or for the people who are friends to the person who has that experience of merciful release, what do we normally do?
I don't really understand what you mean. Can you explain?
Merciful release is, for example, I hate my job, and then I lost it. So losing my job is actually a merciful release for me. Or for example, my friend is or for example, my girlfriend, for example, is abusive. Okay, and now I lost my girlfriend. Now it's a merciful release for me, isn't it? When I lost, or for some people in hospital, for example, the wife has been taking care of the husband for like 5 years, and not an ordinary 5 years, but 5 years of coming in and out of hospital, and very intense care for the husband. Now the death of the husband is a merciful release for the wife.
Yeah, release for her. Yeah.
Now, what happens in merciful release? It's with an emotion stated. What do you normally say to the person?
Something like it's for the best.
Yeah. Yep. And it's time to move on.
Even though it
But there's got to
hurts
be a little bit
maybe
of
now.
grieving.
Say exactly what the person will feel.
Maybe you can say, maybe there will be new one comes, there will be change. You can change your job, or there will be other opportunities. The new doors open, like that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And what happens is we are very open. The emotions are openly stated, isn't it?
Yeah.
We don't hide something, isn't it?
Yeah.
In merciful release, we don't hide the feelings. Even the person himself will say, yeah, that's true. He wouldn't say, well, some will say, but most people will admit what they feel, isn't it?
Yeah.
Most people will admit their feeling, and they don't hide it. Okay. And that's when again, but still, even if the emotion is stated, we can still see. For example, says, yeah, I feel better after her death. We don't say I'm sad. Yeah, I'm sad, but I feel better. We express it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's openly said, and we can easily find out why, because we don't hide anything in merciful release. We don't normally hide merciful release, but in other contexts we hide it. That's why it's hard to find out. Okay. Okay, next we'll move on to, what's the time? Number 4, watch out for body language, nonverbal clues that help you understand feelings. So remember, in your notes you may have found out. So look at the picture. There are different verbal clues for us to understand what they feel. So in the diagram that you have in your handout, you have there, intentions are normally private. So these are wishes, hopes, desires, fears that give rise to our actions. So it's private. It's something inside us. And actions, these are what we see in public. Words, this is what we tell people. Behavior intended to express our intentions. So words and behavior intend to express our intentions. And now, whatever we say or do in public has an effect on the other person. And that effect is also private. The effect of our actions have on others is also private. And that's why, that's why there is that interpersonal gap because only 7% is verbal in communication, 93% is non-verbal. And what happens when we listen to someone talking, especially with patients? As listeners, we are there to decode. To decode is the person encodes when he speaks. To decode is try to decipher, to understand what the person is telling us. How do we decode? We rely on, first and foremost, the words, tone, and pitch that we see and hear from the person. Okay, and again, our only clue, the biggest clue we have is only 7%, but the more the bigger the more big clue, the more biggest clue, or the biggest clue is the nonverbal. So again, the 7% is what we hear, but only 7% of that message is heard, but 93% is nonverbal. So when we talk to people, always remember that what he's telling me is only 7% of what is actually the message of this person. Okay. Again, when we decode or try to understand the message of the person, we rely on these two things: 7% verbal and 93% nonverbal. Again, the public behavior we see is words, tone, and pitch. Whether the pitch is low, that means the person is sad, or high or upbeat, the person is happy. Okay, and the words that the person uses can also help us understand or decode the message. Now, when we respond to the person, same thing. Only 7% is heard, 93% is also non-verbal. Okay, why? Because feelings, intentions, attitudes, and thoughts are all private. And feelings, interference about what A has said is also private. Attitudes and thoughts, whatever we think of that person, is also kept private. We don't say that. And we can actually, sometimes we can see if the person is bored. We can see if the person is unhappy. We can see if the person is sad, even without telling us. Okay. Now, as private intentions are transformed into an observable action, when we say it, these are also transformed into private effects on the person. So we have private actions that are being transformed into an observable action through words and through actions. Now, it is transformed into the person who listens. We also have private effects on what we hear. It's just like what I say has private effects on you. And now Oliver is telling me this and telling me that. So it has private effects on you. Okay. So for example, someone tells you someone is unhappy. Now it's private. It's within me. Now I tell you, you know what? I had this experience, blah, blah, blah. I will tell you my story. An unhappy story. I wouldn't tell you I'm unhappy. Now what you hear is 7%. And the nonverbal is telling me that I'm happy through my actions. Now, as I express that, it has private effects on you. You may be sad, you may be feeling, you may be having some thoughts of concern. That's also private. And again, only 7% is verbal, 93% is nonverbal. So that's the interpersonal gap we have in each conversation with people. Okay. So look at this, just some additional information. High power body language is on the top row. You can see that. And the lower power body language at the bottom. Okay. High power and low. You can see the emotion is low. High emotion, low emotion. Only we can find through nonverbal clues. Even if the person says I'm happy, but if you see these low power body language, then we can already know the real message. Okay, so these are nonverbal clues we find. So these are different feelings. By the way, did you know that they said that the feeling of happiness is the highest feeling, and without strong feelings. Okay, and look at the depression is very low. Anger is lower than happiness, if you notice that. It's a weaker feeling. Now, feeling wheel. So we're supposed to list and group common emotions, but we already have that in the oh, it didn't appear in my. Do you remember the feeling wheel? I'll just wait. I'll look that up for you. Okay, just one moment. So feeling wheel is telling us the different groups of feelings. Okay. Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay. Just one moment. So if you notice, like feeling bad has all these feelings: tired, stressed, busy, bored, indifferent, apathetic, pressured, rash, overwhelmed, out of control, sleepy, and unfocused. Feeling fearful have scared, anxious, insecure, weak, rejected, threatened, exposed, nervous, persecuted, excluded, insignificant, worthless, inferior, inadequate, worried, overwhelmed, frightened, and helpless. So these are the main groups of feelings, and these are the main types of feelings, and these are the members of each group. Okay, feeling surprised, all these are under that feeling. Okay, it's good to study these feelings because, you know, when we talk to people and we're able to identify their feeling, they feel listened to. Okay, so it's good to familiarize those feelings. Okay, we'll we'll not do this one. This one is letting us guess. We'll just do this. Who would like to? Okay, you try to guess what I'm feeling when I do this. What do you think I'm feeling?
Just don't want to be there.
Okay. What else?
Dejected.
Okay. So actions would have feelings, would show us feelings. If someone is, it means I'm bored, I'm sleepy, okay?
Tired.
Or tired. Some people can be tired. Okay. Okay. Now this one, we'll do this when we are in person. Okay. So I think the reflective listening is like letting the person know what they feel is we'll work on this when we do responding guidelines for responding. We will redo this activity. Okay, I said we will do this activity. Okay, number 5, listen to yourself how you might feel in a described situation as a way of further understanding. This is the first step toward empathy. Okay, so again, listen to yourself how you might feel in a described situation as a way to further understanding, and this is the first step toward empathy. So when someone says something, listen, how will I feel if I were in this situation? And that is first step towards empathy. Okay, so when I listen to someone, I don't just listen, but what will I feel if I were in that situation? that will help you in your skill, empathetic listening. Okay. So guidelines for listening, again, listen to yourself is very important. Listen to your own feelings. Okay, I'd like you to listen to what you might feel in the following situations. Number one, we have heard that we have been accepted as adoptive parents of a physically handicapped child. So what will you feel if you were in that situation? When someone tells you that, what will you feel?
Challenged.
Sorry?
Challenged.
Challenged, okay.
Physically.
What else? We have heard that we have been accepted as adoptive parents of a physically handicapped child. What will you feel?
Response.
Yes. Oh, sorry, go Rufus. Sorry.
Yes, Rufus?
Responsibility or responsible person.
Okay, feeling the responsibility or being responsible.
Yeah.
Stacy?
Well, I think I'd be quite pleased for them, because obviously they've applied for this, and they have heard that they've been accepted. So there must be a degree of gladness to be given this opportunity.
So there's feeling of joy. They're elated. Oh, we have been accepted. Okay, there's that feeling of joy, and well, this is a physically handicapped child, so there's also a feeling of fulfillment. Okay, because finally we've been heard. Maybe they wanted to have a physically handicapped child to be adopted,
Yeah.
and now that they got it, they feel a sense of achievement, a sense of joy,
Yeah.
fulfillment.
I think the key would be in hearing how they say that,
Yeah, also
as
that's
we've
very
learned,
good.
you'd have to hear the base of that. Yeah.
But this time, what we're finding out is trying to feel what they feel. This is the aim of this activity, trying to feel what the person feels, okay, when they say this line. Next, a lorry ran into a new car when it was parked, causing a lot of damage to it. What will you
Excited.
feel? Sorry?
Excited.
Excited?
Yep.
Angry.
Angry?
New car.
Yeah,
What
angry,
else?
upset.
Upset, yeah. So it's a new car, okay? So yeah, there is that anger,
Disappointment.
upset, disappointed. Number 3, I went to a party last night and drank so much. I don't remember what I said or did in the last part of the evening. So when someone tells you that, what do you think will you feel?
Worried.
Worried. Okay, you feel worried for her. What else?
Ashamed.
Ashamed.
A little bit embarrassed, maybe.
Embarrassment. Yeah. So you can sense the feeling of the
Fear as
person.
well.
Next, we have just been left 5,000 in a will. My partner wants to spend it on the holiday of a lifetime. I want to spend it on improving our home. So when someone tells you that, what will you feel for that person?
Hopelessness.
Hopelessness.
Yeah.
What else? You could feel hopeless about it because your partner maybe making the decision. What else?
Yeah. Maybe an uneasiness or a bit of worry.
Uneasiness. You may be worried about it.
Uncertain.
Uncertain. And you can be frustrated too, right? Oh, I can't do anything about my partner wants to spend a holiday, or worried.
Self-pity.
Self-pity, yeah. Okay. Next, I have offended my mother-in-law, but don't know what it is I'm supposed to have done.
Confused.
Confused. What else?
Frustrated.
Frustrated or helpless.
Yeah.
Fear.
Okay. The neighbors are objecting to planning permission for a much needed extension to our house. What do you think the person feels?
Frustration.
Frustration. So
frustration.
if you're put yourself in his situation, what? Oh, my neighbor is objecting. So frustrated or unhappy, angry, what?
Upset.
Upset.
Powerless.
What else?
Yeah, powerless.
Sorry?
Powerless.
Powerless. Okay. And next. Oh, I'm sorry. We're supposed to finish 7 o'clock. I didn't realize that. 7:22. I thought
You're in the
it
zone.
was 7:30.
Obviously,
You
you're
didn't tell
enjoying
me.
it. Yeah.
We can cut 20 minutes in next class.
Guys, you didn't tell me.
Love it.
We deduct 20 minutes in the next class.
I was just happy, but continue. Anyway, so we'll finish that, and then so it's about feeling what the other person feels. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, may I ask you, are you happy with this setting? Because this is about communication. Now, would you like to come here next week? I'm here at the hospital, but what is it for you? Do you think this kind of interaction is enough to cover this topic, or you want to come over here? I'd be happy if you come over here because it's better. But what is it for you?
For me, it's okay because we covered everything. Effective listening and responding, and how to listen, how to respond to it. So I think most of it we covered.
Okay.
So,
How about the others? Thanks for that, Rufus.
Yeah, I'm happy either way. I think this is working well, but it depends on what we have coming up and how you see that working best. Yeah.
Okay. Now, yeah, for last time we had volunteers who said, "Oh, we're happy. We really want to see you in person. We want to be together in person." And then when we had the face-to-face session, I think 2 or 3 were not there.
We're not there.
Wow.
So I said, I thought it's everyone wants to come. Then when we want to come, some were not there for many, of course, valid reasons, but I don't know that. Yeah. So are you happy to come, or you're okay with the face-to-face with Zoom? For me, Zoom. Yeah. How about
Zoom
yes?
is, for me, Zoom is better and it's working well. If we need to come there, then I might. Yeah,
I'm the
think
same.
about that.
Okay.
Yeah, me too. I think Zoom working really well. It's same as face-to-face. The outcome pretty
Yeah.
much the same.
Yeah, we've done this. It's the third time we did this, and for me, it's working well. It's working well.
Yeah.
We're able to convey the emotion, and it's less carbon emission.
Amen.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. Sorry to have some. Yeah. Maybe we'll. What do you want? We'll have 30-minute less next time, or 25-minute less next.
Yeah.
I was really not thinking about that. I'm just happy doing that.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you have any homework for us? Do you want us to do any course reading, or
Yeah, just continue reading, and it'll be easier for us to you read. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming tonight, and have a great
Thank you so much for having us. Yeah.
Yes, thanks, Oliver.
Thank you, Oliver. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you,
Yes,
everyone.
bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank
Good night.
you. God
Good night.
bless.
God bless.
God bless.
By the way, don't forget. Sorry, I'll just email you. The what do you call this? The consent form. I think people have already submitted there. There are some. There are a few who didn't. Okay, bye for now.
Bye. Good night.
I don't know how to end it.